Good afternoon. Welcome in. This is the Fan Happy Hour with Luke Anderson. I am not Luke Anderson. Dusty Hara in for Luke. Luke is out for Thanksgiving tomorrow. It is a 2-hour happy hour. So getting twice as saucy in during the happy hour. Joe Fish will be in on Tuesday. I'll be back on Wednesday from 2 to 3 again. But Casey Smith, lowercase, over on the other side of the glass. Case, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, boss man. How we doing?
Fantastic. Look, it's like weird for me to jump back over here and be back in the studio behind the mic, but I'm happy to be here. There's so much going on. Like, this is like layup week. We got the Thanksgiving right around the corner. You have college football, the NFL. You got college basketball tournaments. The Maui Invitational. Have you seen the Maui Invitational?
No, I haven't.
Lineup? That used to be the tournament of college hoops. Like, it was the one that everybody would go to. All the big hitters in all of college basketball would go over to Maui Thanksgiving week, and they would play. It sucks now.
Yeah, it doesn't look very promising.
So the Players Era tournament, which Oregon is in, and you can hear that game today over on 1080 AM. We are going to split the signal today, so prime time is going nowhere. They will be full show 3 to 7 on 105.1 FM. On 1080 AM, we're going to slide the Ducks over there for their game against Auburn, which is a top 25 team in college hoops. But the Players Era Festival in Las Vegas, they've taken over because there's NIL money in that one, right? Like,
yep.
There's some cash on the line for the winners, which has left the Maui Invitational with Seton Hall, NC State, USC, Boise State, Washington State, Chaminade, Arizona State, and Texas. Now, Chaminade's always there because they're in Maui.
Yeah,
they play in their gym. I guess we're going to play. But none of those teams compared to what you see at the Players Era, which is Alabama, Michigan, Auburn, Notre Dame, Baylor, Creighton, Gonzaga, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, Maryland, UNLV, Tennessee, Syracuse, St. John, San Diego State, Rutgers, and Oregon. Like,
all the teams we're going to see in March.
They're actually good teams that are playing. And that, to me, that hurts my soul. Like, I now I know I'm feeling old because that was like the tournament that everybody looked forward to, was the Maui Invitational. And now it's just like it's a thing of the past. That was like the Great Alaskan Shootout. Used to be one of those phenomenal tournaments up in Alaska. No more. It's just gone away. New hotness always creeps in, and it takes over, man.
Yep.
And the Maui Invitational now is taking a backseat to the Players Era Festival. That makes me sad. But I'm back. I'm glad to be in this seat again. You could text us, the fan text line, 503-864-6326. That's 503-864-6326. I'll answer questions throughout the show. We'll do that. One thing that you will not be getting from me is jokes, Casey.
Yeah, I don't have any jokes prepared either today.
We're not going to do. Well, I'm not doing the. Look, that is Luke. There's two things on this Monday show that I just said. Yeah, no. One was the jokes because I'm not a stand-up comedian.
Not gonna sit here and bomb for 5 minutes.
That's right. We're not gonna do that here. The other one is going back in the things that Luke got right and wrong. I would have to go through every single one of his shows last week. I'm not about to do that. Like, he knows what he got right and wrong. I'm not about to go through that.
I was in last week, so I could have helped out with that a little bit, but yeah, it's still a lot.
Things that could have been helpful 2 hours ago, Casey.
My bad.
No, we're good. So we're gonna talk some ball, have some fun, and it's Thanksgiving week. I know that, like, no kids are in school at all. Like, right now, I think some private schools have school. It's like parent-teacher conferences for my kids. It's mayhem out there.
Yeah, my girl works at a Montessori school, and she's got an in-service day where they're just cleaning everything.
Dating a teacher.
Yep.
Got a sugar mama.
Sure.
Well, I mean, like, I've worked your job. I know what you get. You got a sugar mama. If she's a teacher, yeah,
a little bit.
you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
It's okay. My wife's a teacher, too. Same thing.
Oh, there we go.
Same thing, you know? It'll just take you like a decade to catch up
Yep.
on that. All right. Your Beavs didn't play this weekend.
Nope. Got the week off.
Still undefeated all time against BYE. Bye. So good for the Beavs. How are you feeling about this rivalry game? The Beavs got the best of the Cougs in the first matchup. This is part 2.
I think it'll be a confidence booster for our offense, but our defense has to come to play. There's no way that Washington State does what they did last game and only put up, was it 10 points or 13 points?
Yeah, the thing that scares me about this for Oregon State is, for being honest here, they always say for really good teams, it's hard to beat a good team twice. For teams that aren't good, it's hard to beat air twice. So,
Yeah.
This could be a tough one. They got the first matchup, but that Sam Houston State game, that kind of lost everybody at that point.
Yeah, again, you win against Wazoo, but you find ways to lose against Sam Houston and Appalachian State. It's just a recipe for a disaster.
Here is a professional tease. We will have more on Oregon State coming up a little bit later in this show as we will join the Beavs during the Daily Buzz. We're also going to talk about Oregon, the marquee win that everybody was looking for in the College Football Playoff Committee's eyes as they finally get a top 15 win. Again, actually something Luke refuses to talk about college sports. We will talk about college sports today because I'm not going through all the things that he got wrong.
You'll get a little bit of college action.
We're gonna throw a little curveball. We're going to throw a little curveball at you and give you a little bit of college football. So we'll talk about that coming up at 2:30. But, where we got to start, I know Luke loves his Seattle sports. He loves his Seahawks. There is no Mariners news that I know of. On the fan text line, 503-864-6326, just go ahead and throw it out. If you got Mariners news, we'll get to the Mariners news, and I'll give you the... Whoa, high pitch Eddie Vedder. I like this one the best. There we go. We'll give you Mariners news if you have any. There's no big news like last week with Josh Naylor re-signing with the Mariners. So I don't have any Mariners news. We got to start with the Seahawks though. The Seattle Seahawks right here on the fan, they pulled out a win.
Yep.
30-24. And this is the thing about it is what I love about the NFL. I don't care if you have style points. I really do not care. Go on the road, win in that early time slot, and get out of there at 8-3. And that's exactly what the Seahawks did. I love that for Seattle. In the way that you saw, look, Cam Ward was the number 1 pick in the most under-heralded number 1 pick of all time. People even this week where Cam Ward goes 28-42 for 256, a touchdown, doesn't turn the ball over, okay, is his team's leading rusher with 37 yards rushing, which I think says a little bit about where Tennessee's at.
Yep.
But is the team's leading rusher. Nobody cares about the number 1 pick. They still care about the 5th round pick in Shedeur Sanders, who goes for the Cleveland Browns, throws for 200 yards, and a quarter of those yards were on one throw at the beginning of the game.
Yep.
Threw a pick, got a win. Everybody's like, Shedeur, we're back.
He also had a 66-yard screen pass.
Yeah.
Again, a pass where he throws it completely sideways, and guy just takes off and runs 66 yards.
I'm not gonna knock Shedeur. Take those plays. Get those plays. Get those yards. Right? I'm not gonna knock him. I think it's awesome. He went and he got in his first start, he got a win. I think the coverage of him is ridiculous. I think that the way that people embarrass themselves over talking about him as being like an elite quarterback when he hasn't played, and there's a reason why he's a 5th round pick, and we will find it out when he's playing not the Raiders. Okay? We'll find out a little bit more as he plays better teams.
I was like, he's expected to start this weekend.
And yeah, they named him the starter this weekend. Good for him. For me, I tip my cap to him. Way to go, man. We'll see. That Raiders team is busted right now.
Now you're going up against a 49ers defense who is just as broken, but even better schematically.
Yeah, they will be better coached. They have better players. It will be a tougher test, and we'll see a little bit more out of Shedeur Sanders. But the Seahawks get a win, and the big story out of that is Jackson Smith and Jigba just continues to be a mutant. And he goes 8 catches, 167, a couple of tutties on the day. His emergence going from can he be a number one? They get rid of DK Metcalf, and the entire idea of addition by subtraction. Sometimes there are too many mouths to feed, and I will hand up say little bit worried about, all right, can JSN do it when all the attention is on him, all of it, not a hey matchup thing. We're going to give a little bit more attention to number 11. No, all of the attention was on him. He has answered that to the nth degree, and he is an absolute game changer for the Seahawks team. And to find Sam Darnold just kind of slowly chipping away, get the ball to your playmakers. Feed your ballers, man. Just if you have a great, get the ball in his hands as many times as you can. And I love that Seattle is just committing to, no, we're going to find a way to get 11 because he'll wreck a game for you.
Yeah, that's what I think Sam Darnold's the best at, is trusting his receivers. He had he got a 1,000-yard year out of Robbie Anderson. So if you think that he can have a good 1-2 connection with his wide receiver, it's going to be over.
I'm excited to see where JSN goes. This Seahawks team, as they continue to kind of come together, little bit disjointed on the defensive side of the ball yesterday. That's going to happen. Going on the road is hard, right? Early kick is different. I've talked to guys that have played, and they say that it's no joke when you go over and you have to play a little bit earlier. Like, that is a very real thing. We talk about it in college football with the big noon kick. It's an hour later, right? It's tough because your wake-up time is about 5 a.m., local time and Pacific time. It's a tough slog, and we see teams have a difficult time going and playing those games.
Yeah, and Seattle was also without their middle linebacker, Ernest Jones, who's been a real big presence in the locker room for them.
It was a big week for teams to kind of plant their flag in the ground. I think we saw it a handful of times. Thursday, it was an opportunity for Buffalo to do it, and they failed. They lose to the Texans, and the Texans kind of made that statement that we're not going away. We still have a little bit of life in us. The Bears did it against your Steelers. Sorry for your loss.
It happens.
TJ Watt did do everything he possibly could, though, to win that game.
Yep.
He literally sacked and fell on the ball for a touchdown. So you got that going for you, which is nice.
Little victories.
The Packers did it against the Vikings emphatically and just kind of showed everybody J.J. McCarthy, long way to go.
Yeah, the Packers did a really good job of proving that they do have an offense without Tucker Kraft, because Jordan Love is starting to complete passes to to his receivers and to non-tight ends.
And in talking about the emphatic victories, Sunday Night Football, the Rams absolutely demolished the Buccaneers in Sunday Night Football. They are the best team in the NFL right now. And the odds makers are now shifting everything. They are the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl now. The Cowboys, in a 21-point hold to the Eagles, come storming back. And Brian Schottenheimer, if that teaches you anything, it's not that the Cowboys are a playoff team or the Cowboys are going to be something incredible. It is Brian Schottenheimer is actually getting through to that team. And one thing that every one of Schotty's former players say is that they love him, right? He's a player's coach through and through. He is connecting with those guys, and they didn't roll over. How many times have we seen Dallas just roll over in those moments? They didn't.
They definitely have, especially after they lost Kellen Moore as their OC, they had kind of a misconstrued idea of what their identity was going to be. I think they finally figured it out.
Yeah. And then I'll say the biggest statement of the weekend, the Kansas City Chiefs are not going away. If you look at their schedule, go back to at the beginning of this week, you said, all right, they've had 2 back-to-back losses. Everybody was writing them off. There was a path where you go, I would not be stunned one bit if the Chiefs go and they win their final 7 games and they go out in overtime, back against the wall. Mahomes just kind of takes over and he plays playoff Mahomes football, just says, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to run the ball a little bit more. They win 23-20 in an overtime against the Colts. Now the remaining schedule for the Chiefs are the Cowboys, Texans, Chargers, banged up Chargers at home in December, at the Titans, Broncos in Arrowhead, and then the Raiders. They could finish this thing off with 6 wins to end the year. And is anybody going to be surprised if they finish this thing 12-5?
Not at all. What's going to surprise me the most is who the team on the bubble is going to be, and it's likely that it's going to be my Pittsburgh Steelers.
How do you feel about that?
Baltimore is doing Baltimore things, and we still don't have an offensive identity. We don't know if it's Rudolph's offense. We don't know if it's Arthur Smith's offense. We don't know if it's Rodgers' offense. We got a lot to figure out.
Mason Rudolph, when he entered the league out of Oklahoma State and he went to Pittsburgh, he looked like he was like a kind of a pretty boy in Pittsburgh. Like he was a handsome lad. He looks full on Pittsburgh now. Like he has gone, that mustache, it changes a man.
That's 06 Big Ben right there.
He's getting, and I was just going to say, he's getting a little bit of that Ben fat face where it looks like his face is crammed into his helmet.
Yep.
Like it's like you're full on Pittsburgh, brother. I'm picking up what Mason Rudolph is putting down, crammed into that little Steelers helmet.
Again, if he doesn't fumble, we go out and beat Chicago, but I think Mason Rudolph could be a starter in the NFL.
But he did. He
did not.
All right, let's get the show on the road. We will get to the Daily Buzz, what we missed in the highlights from around the sports world. This is the Happy Hour with Luke Anderson, without Luke Anderson, Dusty Heron on 105.1 and 1080 The Fan. The Fan. No, it's not. Dusty Hara in for Luke Anderson. Casey Smith on the other side of the glass with me today. We've got with 38 minutes left of the 48 minutes? 38 minutes left of this radio program. Adding tough for me. All right, let's get to the Daily Buzz, and we got to start in the NFL.
The Buzz.
On 2nd and 4, play action. Darnold to the end zone. Smith-Njigba with his second touchdown of the day. 13 yards, and Seattle storms down the field to grab 6 out of the locker room.
Mentioned this earlier about Jackson Smith-Njigba having an incredible season, but to put it into perspective, Jackson Smith-Njigba, in his 167 yards on 8 catches and 2 touchdowns yesterday, in 11 games, he is now the Seahawks' franchise leader in single-season receiving yards. In 11 football games. He has 1,313 yards on the year, which is 10 more than DK Metcalf had to set the record for the franchise. And to put that a little further and take it out, he's averaging 119 yards per game receiving. He needs to average 108 and a half per game to eclipse Calvin Johnson's NFL record of 1,964 for a season. What JSN is doing isn't just eye-popping for Seahawk fans. He could have a historic year. And to think of if he keeps up his 119 yards per game, he's not that far off of going, all right, does he do it in 16 games? If he does it in 16 games, then it's like tip of the cap from Megatron there in that you do it in the exact same number of games that he did it as well. The year cannot be understated for JSN and what he's been able to do for the Seahawks offense.
I mean, he only has 3 games the entire season under 100 yards. And in those games, he went 4 for 79, 5 for 96, and 5 for 93.
Got a little one more factoid for you. He has gotten, this is from Brock Heward. He has 21 plays of over 20 yards this season. If you just take those 21 catches, those account for 730 yards. That would be 16th in the NFL. Just on his catches of over 20 yards. Everything else, which, by the way, is really damn hard to do in the National Football League to have 21 of those through 11 games. And he is he's on pace to just absolutely dismantle every Seahawks receiving record.
I mean, for comparison, George Pickens led the league last year, and I think it was receptions over 15 yards. I think he had less than 10. That's just, for perspective, that's crazy.
Puts it into perspective right there.
The Buzz.
They could. Billups is facing 2 counts, wire fraud conspiracy and money laundering conspiracy. In theory, if he's convicted of those 2 counts as charged, Matt, he could be looking at decades in prison. Now, it's a complicated calculation. It's a first-time offense. It's a nonviolent offense, but it does at least give him the possibility of decades in prison. The prosecutors said they are already talking to some of the 31 defendants in the illegal poker case about.
Oh, well, that's Aaron Katursky of ESPN. He's their legal analyst. Chauncey Billups pleading not guilty today in federal court in New York City. And in doing so, he is now saying, all right, the heavy hand of the law could be dropped on him. And as Katursky says, he faces 20 years in prison. This is what he said on the back end of that, though, is that the prosecutors have made it clear they're willing to make plea agreements with some of these defendants. We do not know if Chauncey Billups is one of them. One thing that we do know in these kind of federal cases, and especially the ones involving the mob, they are, what the prosecutors want is for them to roll over so they can get the bigger fish and kind of climb up the ladder. This will be really interesting, though, to see how this plays out, because what that signals for Chauncey Billups and his legal team is that they're willing to fight it, which means all of it's going to start coming out. Names are going to be named. All of that is going to happen now, unless the prosecutors come over the top and they can reach a plea agreement with Chauncey Billups, and he rolls over for far lesser charges, maybe minimal prison time, if any, and that all depends on the information that he gives up and where it leads in this investigation. But what Chauncey Billups is saying, I did not profit from rigged poker games. And we're going to see, because these are heavy charges. Man, 20 years in prison? Dude had to post a $5 million bond and put his house in Colorado up as collateral for it.
What I hope happens is that Chauncey does end up snitching to an extent, because it's going to protect his legacy as a basketball player. It's going to protect the NBA's legacy too, because this is going to shock.
It is going to get a little bit hairy here.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
The Buzz.
Hell of a offense, that is defense, that is special teams, that you guys believe it. Playing with conviction. Playing with conviction. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hey, we ain't done yet, fellas. We ain't done yet.
That was Brent Vigen, the head coach of the Montana State Bobcats, after they won the Brawl of the Wild on Saturday over the University of Montana in Washington Grizzlies Stadium. It was Vigen's first win as Bobcats coach in Washington Grizzlies Stadium over their rival. And what that also did, though, at the end of that, you heard, we're not done yet. Record scratch, because, oh, by the way, multiple reports say that he hopped on a plane and arrived in Portland, Oregon, to meet with Oregon State, according to reports. And there's reports out everywhere that Brent Vigen could be in line to be the next head coach of the Oregon State Beavers.
I wouldn't mind that. I like that energy. It shakes things up in a positive direction.
I think with Oregon State, where that job is, you need to find a winner, right? Now, there's two ways to go about that. You can go down the veteran established coach like Brent Vigen, who has won at several different places. He has been in winning cultures through and through, whether that is North Dakota State or in what he's created at Montana State, and built a really solid and good program where you find diamonds in the rough, you recruit based on your culture and your development of talent, and then you find ways to win. Okay? You can, if you want to go the older coach route, perfect. If you want to go the younger coach route, and Brendan Marion at Sacramento State, his name has been thrown out several times by several people, who is a young, energetic coach, a pit bull recruiter who doesn't care where he's at. He's going to sell his program, his offense, his vision, his culture. You could go young or old. I don't care what Oregon State does. Find a winner and be ready for that person to eventually leave. Because if people are worried that Brent Vigen is old, he's 50 years old. Indiana hired 62-year-old Curt Cignetti and said, here's the keys to the castle, do with it what you will. Because that was a program that was, how do we become relevant? We got to find somebody who knows how to win football games. And they hired the guy who said, Google me. I will find a way to win. They just signed Cignetti, who's 64 years old, to a contract extension this year to make him one of the highest paid coaches in college football. Does Oregon State have the funds to do that? No. But if they can hire a person who, if they leaves the program in a better place, then you have to have the resolve as an athletic department and the confidence as an athletic director that you're going to make the next hire of a person who can take it a step higher. And if you keep doing that, you turn into a program like Boise State, where when Boise State was, people forget, like Boise State used to be a junior college, then it was a Division II school, then it was an FCS school, then it was an FBS school. And they made that climb up. Nobody knew when Pokey Allen was the coach there that they were going to be the Boise State we know it now. It went Pokey Allen, then they had Dan Hawkins, and then Chris Peterson, and Boise State became relevant because they kept making better hires and they climbed their way into relevancy. As you climb your way into relevancy, guess what comes with it? Money. Because you're competent and you're proving to your fan base that you can and want to win.
My biggest thing is I hope Oregon State just doesn't wait too long, because if you wait too long, your next season is just going to be a wash, and you have to jump on it right away. Find your guy, find what culture guy you want, and just stick to him.
And if you're the Beavs, you may want to give a call to a guy who's from just down the road. Cal fired Justin Wilcox yesterday, the former University of Oregon standout, Cal Golden Bear coach. He got canned. Nick Rolovich is the interim head coach. And now for that Cal opening, Names like Rolovich are still in play there. Tosh Lapoy, Oregon's defensive coordinator, who is from the Bay Area, went to Cal, has coached at Cal. His name is popping up. Tim Plouffe from UC Davis, Sean Lewis from San Diego State, all in the mix there, as is Jim Mora Jr., where there's rumors that he may be the next man at Stanford as well. He's currently the head coach at UConn. All right, that is the Daily Buzz. Now we got to walk on over to the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk for our Sports Center update. Let's go on over there.
Rivalry Week edition of the Fan Happy Hour with Luke Anderson, brought to you by Roto-Rooter. Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
This Sports Center update is brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop, a great spot for any occasion. And don't forget, you save 10% on your Butcher Shop order when you dine in. Menus and more at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on the Fan, it's Thanksgiving week here, and I couldn't be more excited for some good food. I do got a little fun fact for you, Dusty.
Okay, what do you got?
The largest pumpkin pie ever recorded had a diameter of 20 feet. How many people do you think it would take for you to finish a 20-foot diameter pumpkin pie?
Depends on who I'm hanging out with. If I have the O-lineman in my life, I think it can go at a smaller number. I think if you're just going average human, I want to say, because I mean you got to think those sizes are so big. 40 people.
I think I would have to go with a full 53-man.
Yo, you're going 53-man roster,
full
huh?
53-man roster. Everyone's
That's a good one.
covered.
Yeah, that's good. Or one Mel Kiper Jr. You know he eats a piece of pumpkin pie every day, year-round?
I did not know that.
It's a psycho move. He does it, though.
That's pumpkin pie in July sounds crazy.
That's psychopath behavior, but I expect nothing less from one Mel Kiper Jr., draft analyst extraordinaire.
For more sports scores and stories in 30 minutes, I'm Casey Smith from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Recruiting with Andrew Nemec, Thursday evenings at 7.
Luke Anderson gets a reprieve this week. All of the dumb things that he says will not be regaled in this segment. So Luke, on his vacation, he can rest a little easier knowing that he's not going to be absolutely blasted for all the things he got wrong last week. Casey in information that could have been useful earlier, could have gone through it because you were producing this show and you said, nah, I'm good. I don't blame you.
I did produce the show last Monday.
Hey, but we are here and we're just going to talk football because we haven't talked without Luke. Luke doesn't talk about college sports. I appreciate that for him. Tip of the cap. He says you can get all that stuff with all the college sports. There's a college show right before me. You know, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to go and I'm going to stay in my lane and do my pro sports. Hey, I'm pro that idea and that line of thinking. Me, I am not. I was at the Oregon USC game, and the Ducks, with a 42-27 win over USC, got the win that the College Football Playoff Committee had been saying that Oregon had been lacking. And they did it in a double-digit win over SC. Was it pretty the entire time? Absolutely not. But the way that you can kind of exclamation point that is every time USC had an answer, Oregon responded in kind. And they did it. USC came into that saying, hey, we're without our two safeties, we're without our left tackle. They lose their center over the course of that game. The war of attrition is starting to catch up with Oregon, but they continue to produce offensively, which is kind of staggering. Dan Lanning has always talked about the depth and growing that depth, especially in the trenches. And over the course of the game, when you head into it with Isaiah World being questionable, did not start. Fox Crater stepped in as a redshirt freshman, thought he played admirably at the left tackle position in that game. World, I think, got 16 snaps in there, and that was kind of a surprise to see him out on the field when he's questionable and then does not start the game. Pancho Lalaulu, the starting center, he goes down after getting ankle whipped. We did not see him the rest of the game. Charlie Pickard, which I think a lot of Duck fans went, oh no, because of how the season started last year with him starting at center for the first game and a half of the year. And he came into that position in that role, and I thought he played really well. They had a snap infraction early and then a late snap where somebody else was called for a false start because he didn't snap the ball on time. Outside of that, he played really well up front. And then you lose your right tackle, Alex Harkey, again, but he ended up coming back sparingly, definitely not 100%. For a majority of that game, they were without 3/5 of their starting offensive line. They were still without DeCorian Moore and Gary Bryant Jr. Jeremiah McClellan went down with the shoulder injury that he left, went up the tunnel, ended up coming back and playing again. He was okay. But those injuries are mounting up on the offensive side. And when you look at any team over the course of a college football season or any football season, it's a 100% injury sport. And to get to the playoff, to advance in the playoffs in college, a lot of it is injury luck. And how lucky are you with injuries throughout the course of a year? None of these seem like they're season ending to this point, but at the same time, there's another pivotal game coming up in Seattle with the team that wants it desperately to ruin Oregon's season, whether that is Oregon not hosting a home playoff game or even making the playoff, because although Oregon has that pelt on the wall, nothing is comfortable heading into this final week of the regular season with getting into the playoffs as a 2-loss team if Oregon does lose to Washington this week. There's nothing that kind of signals, yeah, you're safe now. 2 losses means nothing right now.
And that's the beauty of college football is we are really down to the wire right now, and we're getting into decision making where these coaches need to know that I have my team, I have my playbook, I have my this, that, and the other ready to go for that first round of playoffs.
Yeah, I would say that you have to win, and that's kind of the mentality that they have regardless. There's still this weird aspect of Oregon could get into the Big Ten championship game. That would require Michigan beating Ohio State, and I go back to this. I don't know how Michigan's going to score against Ohio State. And that right there, it's going to be your Indiana-Ohio State Big Ten championship game. sign me up, here for it. It won't penalize either one of those teams. I think what we're going to see heading into conference championship weekend is the winner of the Big Ten championship game and the winner of the SEC championship game. They're going to go 1-2 in any order, but right now you're going to still see the losers of those games are probably going to be 3-4. And is Oregon, they moved up to 5 in the AP poll over the weekend. That means nothing as it pertains to the college football playoff rankings, but will they have the ability to move up a little bit more? Maybe, but 5 is going to be about the max where Oregon can get. 6 is still in question, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with what Lane Kiffin says after the Egg Bowl on Friday. If Lane Kiffin says it beats Mississippi State and says, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying at Ole Miss, I can do just as much, I can do more at Ole Miss than I can at Florida or LSU, then at that point, you go, all right, keep Ole Miss where they are. But if he says, deuces, I'm going to Florida or I'm going to LSU, I'm sorry, but if you're going to hold out a Florida State team a couple of years ago in the 14 playoff because their quarterback got hurt, then you probably should keep out a team whose head coach and play caller are going to be gone.
Agreed.
Right? But I see something tells me Lane Kiffin, in his troll mind, which is an amazing troll mind that he has, is all just building this up to also if you win the Egg Bowl and you say on national television, no, I'm not going anywhere, that helps you in recruiting battles over the other 2 schools that you are stringing along here. So, and oh, by the way, signing day is next week. So, look, he's playing 3D chess right now. And we'll see what Lane Kiffin does. But for Oregon, a 42-27 win over USC. Look, Jacoby Lane and Tanook Hines were unbelievable in that game. But you could tell Oregon's game plan was eliminate balance. They did it to the tune of 1.9 yards per carry. And we're not going to let Makai Lemon beat us. 7 catches, 34 yards in the game.
I also think the Oregon defense, the defensive line, they did a really good job at just pushing Maiava off his spot, getting him to be unbalanced in throws, getting these receivers to make tough catches off of tough throws.
A pass rush is not just sacks.
Yep.
It is making the quarterback uncomfortable. He did that several times. A lot of deep balls were either jump balls. Credit to USC. They went up, owned that ball at the highest point. Hines and Lane were there all day long. Little handsy, they were. A little arms extending, but baiting and getting pass interference calls, whatever.
But you expect those calls to kind of go either way because you're expecting them to let them play.
But at the same time, like, if that is how a team is going to try to stay into a game, you'll take it. If you look at almost every single metric in that game, third down percentage, total yards, tackles for loss, all of them were in favor of Oregon. Go and look at a stat outside of passing yards and passing touchdowns, completion percentage, rushing yards, tackles for loss, third down efficiency. All of it favored Oregon, and the final score did as well, 42-27.
The only thing they didn't favor in was passing yards, and when you rush the ball for 180 to their 52, you don't need to.
Yep. So Oregon now on to Washington. And as Bryce Betcher said, it's 8 week now. So Washington, Oregon, you can hear it right here on The Fan. Saturday, a 12:30 kick on CBS, so back-to-back 12:30 games. 7 of Oregon's 12 games this year played before 1 o'clock Pacific time. And that one will be up on Montlake in Seattle on the Fan Sports Network. All right, time for one for the road. Let's get it. Next on The Fan.
Ducks Game Day hits
This is not Luke Anderson. Still Dusty and Casey. Maybe we should get a patch for that. Whatever. I'll just ask the boss to do that. We'll get that done at some point. All right, one for the road. Casey, what is the YouTube chat saying on these very, 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 very glorious Monday afternoon?
Rashid Shaheed is Cal Naughton Jr. to JSN's Ricky Bobby.
Oh, shake and bake, baby. Let's go.
How is JSN supposed to catch the deep ball if one's thrown to Rashid Shaheed?
Yeah.
And vice versa.
I don't know, man. Shake and bake.
How am I supposed to win?
We'll figure that out. I got this one on the fan text line 503-864-6326. A 20-foot pie, you had this in your update. A 20-foot pie is 400 1-foot pies. A regular pie is 10 inches. You need 1,000 people if everyone eats half a pie. Our numbers were way off.
Yeah, but how many times do you eat one slice of pie?
It's
Go
one.
back in for an extra little half and leave a little corner on
It's
the end.
1/2 of a pie, not a slice of a pie. He's talking 1/2. So, Casey, if you're asking me how many times I eat a half of a pie and then go back in for just a little bit more, I'm going to tell you, not very often. Maybe not ever. I don't know if I've ever done that before.
See, this is why I'm not a math guy.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's get to it. One for the road.
Another trick play as Olszewski throws. It's caught. Olszewski with the pass into the end zone for a Giants touchdown. Jameis Winston.
This is Olszewski. He's going to get the ball on a reverse. I thought it was going to be a reverse pass to the front side. Instead, he's waiting for Jameis Winston, who then gets open, going against Derek Barnes.
Gunnar Olszewski is that call courtesy of Fox. Gunnar Olszewski to Jameis Winston for a 33-yard touchdown pass. New York Giants football fans, they got the full Jameis experience. They got it all. He throws for 366 yards, 2 touchdowns, has the most Jameis pick of all time. He catches a ball in the end zone. He airmails it into like row 6 in crunch time. Plays good enough to give your team a chance to win, but ultimately loses in overtime, 34-27, thanks to Jahmyr Gibbs having one of the most freakish days you will ever see. 219 yards on 15 carries, not bad. 2 touchdowns rushing the football, and then 11 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. 260-plus yards for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Saw a stat that just came across on ESPN that Jahmyr Gibbs is second behind, I think it's Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders, for the most touchdowns before their 24th birthday.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's at 42. Barry Sanders was at 44. He just passed Randy Moss.
Hot damn. Way to go, Jahmyr Gibbs. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks to everybody chiming in on the fan text line. It was good to talk to y'all again. I'll be back on Wednesday. I'll be back on Wednesday. Maybe we'll just do a Q&A where you guys could just ask, like, who's the hardest employee to work with here at the Fan. I'm going to thank Isaac Ropp as Luke does every show, but, you know, we can read between the lines. Everybody, hey, have a great Monday. Tuesday, you got Joe Fish up next. Is 4 hours prime time with Isaac and Suk right here on The Fan.
Texting and